Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and I'm back again to do another instructional videos that you must own. This time we're going to talk about Jimmy Bruno's no-nonsense jazz guitar. I've just seen that Jimmy is in poor health and in hospital, and it got me thinking about this video and his other video, which I will do another video on in the future because that's also a great video. But No Nonsense Jazz Guitar is a 2-hour long Hot Licks instructional video that does exactly what it says on the tin. If you are looking to start playing jazz guitar and you don't want to overcomplicate things, you want to get straight into playing music and really hearing and understanding the sounds, then Jimmy's No Nonsense Jazz Guitar is an excellent place to start. Let's take a look at the contents and then I will come back and I will talk about the video. So, typical Hot Licks video, lots of chapters, all of the scale fingerings, also playing over 251. There's Dorian scales and melodic minor scales, picking technique. It's a lot of content here. The 7-string chapter is very cool. The first lesson, it's long, shows you what he would teach in a first lesson. And then the biographies. Now, there's definitely a lot of interesting content on this video. And as I say, it's 2 hours long, so there's a lot of interesting content. And it really is quite an all-encompassing course. If you're unfamiliar with jazz guitar as a style, this is going to help you get into that. I don't feel that it's for the beginner. I feel that this is best suited to an intermediate player that has some sort of skill on the instrument. But he really does break down just about everything you could want to know. He deals with chord construction and degrees of the scale and what chords fit on which degree of the scale, explaining what a 251 is and where that comes from. So actually dealing with the theory behind that as well. Then goes into breaking down basic scale fingerings that he uses. Now this is very interesting to me because while this isn't a system that I personally use and it's not a system that I teach or even would teach, it's again interesting to see how somebody has a different approach to me, and I'm not going to shit on his approach just because it's different to my way of looking at things. There are definitely parallels between what he does and what I do and the way I visualize. When he says 6v2, it's the E shape of the cage system. When he says 5v2, that's the C shape of the cage system and he transitions into the G. But to be fair, when he breaks into things like 6H2 or 6H4, these things, they're different from the way I think about things. And I could obviously compartmentalize what he does in the way I think about things, but that's not the point. It's okay that he has a different way of looking at things, and you might get some benefit out of that. So very interesting to see him do that. The other beautiful thing about this is you may think, well, these fingerings are they're weird, and they're not massively weird. They just don't fall into that 3-note per string pattern. And in jazz, that's okay. Jimmy has no problem playing through these at speed. Check this clip out. You'll also notice that quite a lot of economy picking going on. Very cool.
Scale here. 1 here, 6v4. Okay, now I need something to go up this way. So this is called horizontal fingering, and it's called 6.
Now, as I say, this is a no-nonsense approach to jazz guitar. So Jimmy is very adamant that he doesn't want you to overthink. In fact, he talks about the subjects of overthinking when talking about what is essentially derivative versus parallel modal theory. He never uses those terms. And again, his approach is very different to mine. He's definitely dealing with everything in a very much key center or derivative modal theory approach. It's not the way I would do things, and it's not the way I would choose to teach things, but it's definitely a no-nonsense approach to learning to play. It gets you results quick. So these are Jimmy's thoughts on overthinking.
Oh, well, you can use D Dorian, D melodic minor, and D this, and F this, and then that's another whole other thing when they start transposing roots. And well, if I had to learn how to play like that, I would have given up because it's too hard. Okay? So, and then on the G7th.
Now, the best part about this video, without doubt, is the fact that everything is presented as music. He covers a lot of scales here, he covers a lot of theory, but he doesn't delve too far into the deep explanations of things. In fact, he has this feeling that he demonstrates himself playing melodic minor, but he makes the argument that I'm not thinking about that as melodic minor. I'm just thinking of that as I like the note C sharp over a D minor 7 chord, so I play that note. You can't come and look at what I do after the fact and tell me what I was thinking. And he's adamant he's not thinking melodic minor. So he starts to introduce all of these outside sounds on your chords, because essentially when you're playing a major scale, there's only 5 notes that aren't in the scale. So as long as you can learn to integrate the sounds that those other 5 notes give you, then you can make melodies. And melodies is the key word here. When I first started to learn to play jazz guitar, and I'm still not a great jazz player, I just enjoy jazz. When I first started to learn to play, I tried to make everything as academic as possible. And you don't hear that in Jimmy's playing. Don't get me wrong, sounds like an authentic jazz player, but that's kind of the point. When you listen to every single thing he plays, it's all about the melody. His lines are exactly that. They're melodies. They're small, short melodies, and they take you on journeys. And that is a lesson which is never hammered home enough. We talk about arpeggios and scales and all the academic practice side of things, but we neglect the fact that playing melodies is what soloing in jazz guitar is about. And this video is full of Jimmy improvising melodies on the guitar. Check this out.
The way to learn these passing notes is pick one at a time so you know what it sounds like. So I'm going to pick the C sharp first. So every time the D minor 7th comes around, I'm going to try and put C sharp in the line so I can learn what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, 1, 2, I'm not 1, 2, 3. The possibilities are
And the impressive thing about this video is, aside from it being 2 hours long, which is awesome, there's a lot of examples here, and the examples are transcribed. They're pretty long examples, and many of them are transcribed, and that's fantastic. So you can really delve into how Jimmy is using these scale fingerings to improvise over 2-5-1s, and they don't sound like exercises. It sounds like a professional making music, because Jimmy is a professional among all professionals, and that's excellent. He definitely delves into some other interesting concepts that the more advanced players could probably pick up things from. Like, for example, Jimmy has a fantastic pedal point tremolo lick, which again requires good economy picking to master it. Very cool sound, and he does it extremely well. I can't quite manage to get this one up to speed. Check it out, very cool.
Strings in the middle. If you really want to make yourself crazy, put the pedal on the bottom.
He also deals with chords, and this is actually I'm kicking myself after watching this video. The thing with chords on the guitar is we're one of the few instruments where chords are a big part of what we do. It's important that we understand harmony on the guitar. And I neglected this as a teenager. I remember working on Steve Vai's 10-hour guitar workout, and I remember doing all of the chromatic dexterity exercises and all the things that I wanted to do, but then I'd ignore the things that I deemed boring. And that's foolish, because I remember in there Steve Vai demonstrates and talks about the playing what I now know to be G major 7 voicings in drop 3 voicings on the low string set and moving them up in inversions up the strings. Now, I skipped over that as a teenager. And again, Jimmy covers this exact same concept. He deals with not just chords and inversions, but also making one chord into another chord. So taking a dominant 7 chord and making it major 7, raising that 7th up to the 7th, the major 7th, and it becoming a major 7 chord, and doing this in all voicings that he's likely to use. These are things that I paid thousands and thousands of pounds to go to university and learn. And in reality, I'd been presented with all of this stuff when I was about 15. And I kind of want to kick myself for that, because as I say, you can save yourself a lot of money by delving in and actually putting in the time into these things. Or you could pick up my chord encyclopedia DVDs that cover all this and more. Anyway, check it out. Very cool.
2-5-1 on 6-4-3-2. Now on the bottom. Okay, same thing on the top. Okay, you need to experiment with making.
Now, he also deals with walking bass concepts, which are very interesting. And I love this sound when playing on jazz guitar stuff and accompanying people. It can sound a little bit cheesy, but that was really my introduction to jazz. That was the thing that pulled me in. It was listening to guys like Jimmy Bruno and Martin Taylor and Joe Pass. Those guys are still massive heroes of mine. And that walking bass thing that they all do very often is a big part of their vocabulary. So check that out.
Work against this. Okay, it's 2-5-1 in the key of C with a turnaround. Okay, I have rich.
Now, the final thing I'm going to talk about on this video is Jimmy's approach to 7-string guitar. He plays a 7-string guitar a lot of the time, and it's nice that this gets shown off in the video. Now, he tunes it the same way George Van Epps would tune it. You can tell that his low 7th string is tuned to A, and you really very quickly get an idea of why he does this. He demonstrates the walking bass line concepts again, but applied to 7-string guitar, and you see that suddenly you can get in that low register no matter where you are on the neck. This was fascinating to me as a kid, and also totally pointless, because I can't afford £4,000 or however much for a very nice 7-string jazz guitar. I'm sure there are actually more affordable options on the market now, but you know, around the year 2000, that wasn't an option. So it wasn't something that I could delve into, but I still took a lot of worth from watching that, and I saw the potential of an extended range instrument. Very cool, check it out.
So those other bass lines that I showed you earlier. Okay, now. So extended the range of the guitar down a couple more notes, and also a lot of jazz tunes are in E flat.
Now, is this video perfect? No, it's not perfect. Is it a good use of your money? Yes, Absolutely. It's 2 hours long and you can pick it up for between 10 and £20. It's a masterclass with one of the greats of jazz. And it, as I mentioned earlier, it really upset me to see that Jimmy is in poor health and in hospital at the moment. Jimmy has not had the impact on the music scene that I feel he deserves. Not that he's not had a great career, but Jimmy is one of the premier players and one of the premier educators, and it's well worth digging into as much of his content as you can find. There are definitely drawbacks to this video. As I say, the scales and all of that, if you know that, there's a lot of content there that is not really applicable to you. If you don't use Jimmy's system, it might be difficult for you to avoid learning his system. You can absolutely, if you're comfortable with whichever way you play the guitar, you can apply everything he shows you to your way of doing things. But a lot of it is covering his system. Another flaw, and I'm glad that my friend Nick Harrison also picked up on this, because not that it bugs me, but I appreciate that it can totally be an issue for some people when looking at instructional videos. But Jimmy is playing a beautiful Benedetto hollow body guitar, and it has no fret markers on it, so you have a completely blank fretboard. I know that sounds silly, but this is education, and the people watching need to be able to see exactly where you are, and fret markers are exactly that. They're a reference. So that seems like a bit of an oversight, and it's something that people often don't even consider when teaching. I've called people out on it before in the past for teaching on, Steve Vai guitars with Tree of Life inlays. It just creates more confusion than there needs to be. So that is one of the only things that I can really criticize about this video. It's an excellent video, well worth your time, full of fantastic education, fantastic examples of melody and improvisation, and on the subject of improvisation, some really cool clips of Jimmy just playing. Not even in a teaching setting, but playing on a blues, for example, or playing with another guitar player. There's some live clips. It's a very inspiring video, and I highly recommend you check it out. You can do so, of course, by clicking that link below. I have an Amazon affiliate account, so if you pick it up there, I might make $1. And that's cool. If you don't want to buy that, but you still like my content, you can support me over on Patreon, like these cool people do. These guys all support me at a $10 tier, and I'm massively appreciative of their support. It's a huge help in my day-to-day life, and it means that I can spend money making better videos. As you can see, picture looks great, microphone, lighting. Didn't go to the effort of ironing my shirt, which... poor form, Levi. But yes, as I say, for $10, you can join that list of fantastic people. And if you don't want to spend as much as $10, you can support me for as little as $1. And doing so gets you access to our private patron-only Facebook group. So again, if that's something that appeals to you, please do check me out on Patreon by clicking, there's a button up here somewhere. You can also subscribe by clicking this button down here. And you see 2 more of my videos over here. Lots of cool content, and I'm sure you will find something that you enjoy. And if you don't, you can send me a complaint letter and I will file it in the appropriate filing cabinet. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you for another video soon. Bye.